Welcome back to Rediscovering Childhood. I'm your host, Mireia, and today we have an incredibly insightful episode for you. I'm joined by Shauna Maxwell, an accredited play therapist and the founder of Discover Play Therapy. With over 10 years of experience working with children in foster care, residential settings, and those facing big challenges like trauma, abuse, and emotional struggles, Shauna brings a wealth of expertise to our conversation today. In this episode, we'll dive deep into the world of play therapy, exploring how it serves as a powerful tool to help children express and process their emotions. Shauna will also share her insights on the profound impact of trauma and abuse on childhood development, how to create safe spaces and build trust, and practical tips for parents and educators to support children through their healing journeys. Whether you're a parent, educator, or simply interested in understanding how to foster emotional resilience in children, this episode is packed with valuable knowledge. So let's get started. We're back to a new episode, and my name is Mireia, your host, and I'm here with Shauna Maxwell. She works at Discover Play Therapy. Welcome to the pod.
Thanks so much. It's so good to be here.
I'm finally made in person. You're amazing.
Oh, thanks so much. So are you. All we've done is just laughed for the past hour.
We've finally put ourselves together for an amazing episode.
Really excited about this one.
Give us a little bit of context about what you do and why you do it.
Yeah, I suppose I really am honoured to be here to be the voice of the children who have experienced trauma. So I have over 10 years experience working with children in foster care and some residential experience as well. So my background is in social care and I'm also an accredited play therapist. And I'm just really passionate about helping children who have experienced trauma and really educating people around how to actually help children. I feel from my own experience, I just think there's a lack of awareness and education, even though trauma has been this huge thing over the past couple of years. It's like it's just after blowing out of the water and regulation and all of this. But it's like, do we actually really understand it? I think when we look at trauma, it's like an onion. There's so many layers to it, and we really need to take in the individual, because no one size fits all, and there's just layers to it, and everybody is so different. Every child is so different, so I just really think that we need to be mindful of that when we're working with children who have experienced trauma. I am really grateful now to have changed my work, I suppose, and I'm working in the community now with families impacted by addiction. So that's a whole nother layer that I'm really learning about, and it's really dealing with the chaos on the day-to-day, and it's incredible. But yeah, it's challenging. It's really, really challenging, because when I was working in fostering, it was an awful lot different, you know, because you're reading case files and what has happened prior, but now actually you're in it. You're in the chaos. You're actually part of that. You're part of that child's journey, you know, and you're really, for me, you're trying to buffer the impact of trauma. So it's just a minefield.
How would you define trauma? Because as you said, I think we use that term very loosely, and for anything, you know, oh, I'm traumatized, or I've got a bit of trauma. What is trauma?
Yeah, like for me, I love Dr. Gaber Mate. Like I think everybody does, and he talks about trauma. You know, it's not about the event. It's about what's happening inside of you as a result of what has happened to you. So when we're actually looking at trauma, it's around the wounds that has been left from the event. So like when we're looking at trauma, so there's acute, there's chronic, and then there's complex trauma. So acute is a one-off experience about trauma, like a road traffic accident. A chronic trauma is like continual, and then you have your complex. So children that I work with would have complex trauma. So it's like developmental trauma. It's trauma on a daily basis. So when we're looking at complex trauma, which I can only speak from my own experience and knowledge from working with children, it's really around abuse. Children who have experienced abuse, like physical, sexual, emotional, neglect as well, is something that can be often overlooked as well sometimes, you know, but that it's that accumulative harm. And then, you know, you're looking at parental separation, you're looking at addiction, you're looking at domestic violence. Again, there's so many layers to it. But what I have learned over time is the importance of attachment. When you bring it back to early childhood, it's absolutely mind-blowing. And what I've learned over the years about attachment is the first 3 years is so important in a child's life. Like, it's just in relation to how they view themselves, how they view the world, how they view relationships. So I think a lot of professionals would obviously know around Bowlby's attachment theory, and I won't even get into all the different kind of attachment styles, because I feel for me, working with children in foster care, they have developed survival strategies, or like attachment strategies, in order to survive. So when we're bringing it back to the early childhood attachment, so the Bowlby's attachment theory around that internal working model. So if you have a caregiver that's responsive, that's nurturing, you know, the child is crying, they have a need, it's met continuously, they do develop that secure base, which is so important for their sense of self. You know, they actually believe, oh my God, my internal working model, my core belief is I am loved, I am worthy of love, I am safe here, I trust adults, and I know that the world is safe, you know. But then you have an experience of a child who cries and their needs aren't met, or their parent might be inconsistent in meeting them for whatever reason. It could be maternal mental health, it could be addiction, it could be domestic violence, and there's no blame within that. But what the child learns is that when I cry, my parent sometimes comes, or sometimes not, or sometimes doesn't come at all. So their core belief, their internal working model becomes quite negative. You have a negative sense of self. I'm not worthy of love. I am not lovable. The world is very unsafe, and adults shouldn't be trusted. And it's just, I've really seen that through working with the children in care, because they don't trust. They have a huge fear of trust, because when we actually look at it, they've been let down by their parents, their primary caregiver, the ones that are meant to be there and look after them. They don't have that trust. So how can you trust an adult that's going to come in, like for a foster parent, and they have the most amazing intentions in the world of providing that safe place, but often that can be rejected by a child, and that can be very confusing as well. So I think for that, it's really important around like the trust.
The first thing you said is being the voice for these children. What do you mean with that?
Like for me, I want to advocate and really support people and educate, because I feel like children who have experienced trauma, there's so much labels going around, like it's like, you know, ADD or ODD, or, you know, and it's like defiance. And I feel for these children that they're very misjudged. They're very misjudged, and they're just labelled as bold or challenging. And I just feel, to be their voice, to really support them and actually educate people around that piece. Like, because when we're looking at it, especially with children, say even in the school setting, I would have a lot of interactions with the school. Some schools are brilliant, and some schools are quite trauma informed, but I think to be trauma informed, you really need to gain insight and awareness to yourself. You have to have that insight for you, like, because I know for me, even working in the industry, I had to do a lot of healing, because children will trigger something inside of you that you may project then onto them. And it's like, actually that child is misbehaving, and you're not giving them that safety. You're not giving them that connection.
So you said the first 3 years of life are key to develop their pathways in their brain, their relationships, their connection with their adults, their trust, their safety. But what happens when those needs are not met?
Yeah, like it's really important, I suppose, when we're looking at trauma in relation to like attachments, in relation to sensory integration and emotional regulation. So like they're the three key things that like I have really learned around when trauma occurs during them early years. So when we're looking at attachment, obviously, as I spoke about, when attachment is disconnected, that really impacts that internal working model of how they view themselves, how they view the world, and, you know, relationships. So like that sets their tone then for relationships even in adult life, you know, like how can they trust when them early pathways haven't been there? And then when we're looking at sensory integration, even in relation to early childhood attachment, children from babies, they learn through their senses. They really do. Like they explore the world around them. And, you know, when we're looking at the sensory integration piece, which I think is often missed through early years, the development is huge in relation to even how they regulate. Like, and that co-regulation piece is so important. And I think we as a society have very high expectations on children around emotional regulation, and especially children who have been traumatized. Oh, they should do this or they should do that. She should be well able, sure, she's 8 years of age, she should be well able to manage her big emotions. But actually, when we're looking at emotional regulation and then outbursts, we need to go back in order to move forward. So we need to look at, okay, what age is the child actually presenting at? What emotional age? So like chronologically she's 8, but actually emotionally she's having a temper tantrum like a 2-year-old. But when we're actually unpeeling that onion layer and we go back, we discover that, okay, like she's had that early disruption. She was never taught them skills around regulating. How can she? You know, her mum was probably in chaos. And just to even touch a bit on the intergenerational piece, like, and there's no blame or shame here, like, because my mum was an alcoholic as well. And I feel parents did the best that they did, that parents did the best with the skills that they had. And I think that's so important when we're looking at intergenerational trauma, because every parent that I've worked with holds that blame and shame. Even parents in addiction, like, you know, everybody just wants to be the best mum that we can be. That's as a society, and the best parent we can be. But when we look at the onion and peel it back, you know, they mightn't have had the best childhood. So it's all they know. It's them kind of mirror neurons. You're going to parent the way that you were parented unless you know differently. So unfortunately, children who are born into addiction, they haven't got the best start in life. So I think it's important to recognise that. And I know Bruce D. Perry, he talks a lot around developmental trauma, and I absolutely love him. And he talks around the 7 puzzle pieces. Do you know them ones?
No.
It's brilliant. He breaks it down, and he has great resources on the Beacon House, I think, .org. Beacon resources. We can link it there because I love all them.
I'll add the link,
they're just so good. And I think even for teachers or anybody who's working with children who's in situations like domestic violence or addiction. But he talks about the 7 puzzle pieces. So he talks around, one is around sensory development. Then he talks about dissociation, it's attachment development, emotional regulation, behavioural regulation. I think the last one is cognition, obviously how they process the information. And then the last one is the self-concept and identity. So when we're looking at developmental trauma through the puzzle pieces, so the sensory integration at the start is huge. Like, so when a children experiences trauma, they're in that fight or flight. They're in that lower part of the brain, which is the reptilian brain. You know, they can't move up the hierarchy. So I always think about the child's brain like little building blocks. So you have like a red building block, like a traffic light, a yellow, and then you have the green. So the red is the reptilian brain. I'm sure you know all this as well through your studies.
I love the analogy of the building and the traffic light.
Of the traffic light, because the red, obviously the reptilian brain is responsible for that fight or flight, that kind of real primitive part of the brain. So it's survival. You know, it's that rest and digest. It's all of, not rest and digest, sorry, that's the other parasympathetic nervous system. Then you move up to the limbic system, which is responsible for your memories. And then you have your prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for your thinking, all that rational, that like learning, judgment.
Would children, sorry that I interrupt you there, but would children be mainly in the red area and move to the green every now and then develop skills that allow them to be in the green for longer periods? Or they just don't have the skills at all?
Okay.
Or how does that work?
So sometimes, depending on the trauma, so like this is why early childhood is so important, because it does impact brain development. So if a child through their early years have experienced a trauma, they're likely to be stuck in the red because they're in survival. You know, they're in that kind of primitive part. I need to survive. My world is very unsafe. My relationships are unsafe and I'm feeling unsafe. So they're kind of hardwired for stress. And I'll talk a little bit around the adaptive strategies, the attachment strategies. So I call them survival behaviours. So what we see with children in foster care is that, you know, they come in and like it's that they can go obviously either way. They can be obviously over affectionate and over like needy, you know, and that can be really hard for carers as well, or like parents, you know. It's like, but what's going on actually behind underneath it all is, I need to be seen because I can't be forgotten about. I want you to see me, because if I don't, then I'm fearful that what will happen if you don't see me. So that's where that kind of comes from. And then you have like your fight kind of response, that aggressiveness as well, and that kind of falls into it as well. So it's like, to answer your question, sometimes depending on the situation, I find that children, I think when there's a level of safety and connection, that they can access the orange and the green and the learning. But I think when children experience trauma and then survival behaviours, when they're in that fight or flight, it can be very, very challenging, you know, to actually regulate and co-regulate, because often what happens is that they test and they keep kicking and screaming and running, and it's like, how can you get them to a place of safety? You know, how can they learn that skill? So like, what trauma actually looks like in the behaviour of children, say in school, poor concentration. Of course they have poor concentration. They're in that red. They're in the red. They can't actually go up to the green. So where does that leave them for their learning? You know, they're labelled as, you know, they're getting left behind really in school, you know, because they haven't got their
basic
safety.
needs
It's just around safety. So it shows up as that. It shows up as low self-esteem. They find challenging themselves really hard. And, you know, if you're a teacher, you're going to be like, no, come on, you can do it. And you're offering lots of praise. But actually deep down, if you're looking at the core beliefs, they don't believe they're good enough to do it. So some of them just don't try because it's too hard.
And when you're in that zone, it's that little annoying voice in your head making, like, everything you do, it proves that you can't do it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how much good things you're doing, how many good things you're actually doing and achieving. It's that voice saying, see, I told you can't do it. And you're going to focus just on the negative.
100%. Yeah. And so like other behaviours that show up as well is the depression as well, you know, especially through teenage years. And we're also seeing an increase in anxiety with children, you know. It's just mental. The mental health services is just crazy. It's just crazy for children.
That's devastating.
It's devastating. Yeah. It really is. Like,
it's just a time wasted that could be used. So it could be so powerful. The younger they are and the earlier we start.
And it's just
time wasted.
Early intervention is key. And I think as a society we're missing that, you know, because it's the wait lists. And I know from working with even parents on the Discover Play Therapy page, they're waiting on waiting lists, you know. So this is a little bit of a support in the interim till they get seen to, and it's like they're crying out for support and help, and it's not there. It's really, really sad. Like,
yeah,
it's really sad.
Can we carry our parents' trauma?
Yeah, I believe we can. I believe we can on an energetic level and spiritual level. I'm very into spirituality, and I think I remember hearing before that your child is energetically connected to you till the age of 7 or something like that. Ooh. I can't remember, don't even quote me, but I remember hearing it or seeing it somewhere. I was like, God, that's amazing. So a lot of the things that you feel, your child will feel. But I do believe it's passed down. Like, I had to do a lot of work on breaking intergenerational patterns so that I could regulate with my child, you know, so that I didn't pass down, you know, like unhealthy patterns of parenting that mum had.
Yeah. What are the things we can do as parents to build a healthy relationship and connection and attachment with our children?
Yeah. I think like connection is key, but it's providing safety. And I was only listening to a podcast coming up here, another one with Gaber Mate, and he talks around the best thing you can do as a parent is look after yourself. And I was like, wow, like that is the key as well, as self-care. And it's like,
and yet we always put it at the bottom of their priority list and blame everybody for not having time.
There's just so much for it. Like, I just feel there's so much expectations on parents, like on mothers on this day and age. Like, I really do. You know, we have to work, we have to go back to work, and we've bills to pay, the the cost of living has gone up. And I think with technology, I think there's an awful lot more like behavioural issues then coming out of that as well. Like, it's just an absolute minefield, and parents are drowned in the responsibilities of how can I help my child, but actually how can you help yourself? And when I sit with parents and ask that question, sometimes they don't know. And how sad is that? You know, we actually are looking always to meet our children's needs, but it's like we don't know how to meet our own.
And what are the things we can do?
Yeah, like I think from working with children, it's providing that safety. So like when they're in that state of dysregulation, they need safety and containment. Like, they need safety and containment. But in order to do that, you need to be regulated. And I think that's often missed, because I know from working, I worked in an under 12s residential as well. And these children were amazing. They've taught me a lot about trauma, but they've also taught me a lot around my own triggers. Children are like mirrors, I feel. Like, literally mirrors to the soul. And I'm like, oh my God. They're triggering me. Like, how have they triggered something inside of me? They triggered self-doubt. They've triggered I'm not good enough. They've triggered like a negative belief system that I would have carried for years. So it's like when we're working with children, say even with teachers, if you're working with a child in a classroom that is in that state of dysregulation or is experiencing challenging times at home, they're going to push buttons in you, but you need to have that self-awareness to be like, okay, it's not about me. Try and depersonalize it and regulate yourself. Like, how can we regulate ourselves? Like, for me, it's all around the daily practices I do. It's the breath work, it's my meditation, it's filling my own cup. How can I regulate in the moment? Like, sometimes it's like I would pinch my hand, like I do the pinch the tops of my fingers. I'd take a deep breath. I'd also say to a child as well, like I remember working in the residential, I would say to them, I need a timeout. Mm-hmm. Like, instead of, I don't believe in timeouts for children at all. So I would say, I need to take a little bit of time out because I can feel myself getting angry and, you know, I don't want to upset you.
And then they're going to do the same.
It's role modeling.
It's amazing. Yeah.
It is role modeling. And sometimes I think we get lost in that because we get lost in the power struggle. It's like we go into this kind of authority figure and it's like, I'm an adult and you're a child. But that's all the belief system. It's like, what have you heard through your generations? Because I know from working with parents and just even the beliefs around, you know, around children should be seen and not heard. You know, children should be, like, you need to respect your elders, you know, and it's like, what does that actually mean? How are you perceiving that and how are you carrying down for that? Like, so it's that kind of control. So it's like we need to release the control and get down to the child's level. You know, and
is that very linked to our ego as well?
It's 100%. Like, so it's just really breaking down them barriers for yourself. So I always do say to parents, like, what are they triggering inside of you? You know, because some parents come to me around like, oh, I need help with A, B, and C, and like, you know, fix the problem. And I'm like, there's no problem. Like, it's your child isn't broken. They don't need to be fixed. It's a behaviour that is triggering something inside of you that you feel helpless, you know, that you feel not good enough. So like, my main thing is empowering parents. We all have the skills. We just need a little bit of guidance along the way. But I think as a society, we place a lot of expectations on services as well, you know, around therapies, play therapy. And I'm
is that a bit passing on your own responsibility as a parent to someone else and then be like, oh, I'm on a waiting list, I can't do anything?
I don't even think it's that, because I do believe that parents are like, they want help. But I think even on a professional level, you know, I've worked with obviously services, I work with interagencies, and it's like, oh, that's not my remit, we'll pass it to this. And it's like
between the professionals themselves,
and it's in the interim, and it's like, this child is struggling, you know, So I think there's a lot of onuses on professional help. But I feel from working with children is that, and I shouldn't even say this because I do believe in therapy 100%. I think it's absolutely amazing, but just please bring it back to basics. Just, can we bring it back to basics of human connection and safety? All the child needs is connection and attachment. Like, that is all they need. They just need to know that everything is okay, that their behaviour is okay. It's okay to show their emotions. Yes. It's okay to get angry, and it's okay to be upset. And, you know, that's exhausting for parents, 100%, because they're triggering, again, something inside you that you feel that you're not good enough. You know, so maybe you're searching external because you're feeling helpless within it all. It's like, somebody help, somebody fix it. And it's like, you do have the tools yourself. You just need a little bit of guidance along the way. Like,
yeah. How do we make sure, you said one of the main things we can do is make sure we're providing a safe environment. What are the things we can do to provide? Is it like setting boundaries and things like that?
Like, safe environment for me is regulating yourself, to be honest. I really do believe that. And we talk a lot around like play therapy and the different mediums within the room that would help a child, but actually the power is within the play therapist. That's all you need is that regulated adult in order to provide that safety. It's not around what's actually around you, it's around what's happening inside of you. So if you're able to calm yourself and be like, okay, I'll take a deep breath, I know it's challenging, like, I have to be the calm to their chaos, I need to be the water to their fire, because if I go in with fire, it's going to be an explosion. So like, it's taking that time, it's just taking a few minutes out to splash water on your face, splash cold water on your face, have a little drink of water, place your hand on your heart for a minute and be like, I can do this, I can deal with the behaviour. And that would be that safety for me. Like, you know, that safe environment that's what I'm talking about, is the safety within yourself. But are you safe in yourself? Because I feel as a society we are walking around so dysregulated.
We're terrified of our own selves.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're so dysregulated.
Yeah.
We're, even the foods that we, you know, the coffee that we drink, we're constantly running on adrenaline. We're in that fight or flight. Our window of tolerance is definitely shortened, and we're literally on the edge. So everything, like, it could be your child might have just spilled a little glass of milk and it's like, Jesus, oh my God. And it's like, sometimes I notice that, like, because obviously I have a toddler and he spills things and I'm like, oh God. My initial thought is, oh Jesus, I have to clean this. And then I'm like, right, I catch myself before I blow. And I'm like, I turn around and I don't even face him, and I take a deep breath and then I turn back around with a nurturing face. It's okay. Don't worry about it. We can clean it up. That's okay. And it's like,
it happens to me as well. And it's just that, okay, yeah,
but it's around coaching yourself in that moment. I call them parent pauses. You just need to pause. You just need to press the pause button and be like, okay, it's not a big deal. It can be resolved. But that's very hard to do if you're in a state of dysregulation. Yeah. Like, how can you actually do that? So it's really around nurturing yourself first.
Yeah, absolutely.
My tips.
How do you help a child who has experienced trauma?
So I would have different modalities based on whatever the child comes to me with. Like, it is around that relationship building is key. Like, that's the basis. That is the foundation of any therapeutic intervention, is the relationship. You know, so I go in and, you know, I'd just talk to the child and I'd acknowledge how hard it is for them. So sometimes I think as professionals, we forget that children may have had an awful lot of professional input. They have people in and out of their life. So even with children with diagnoses of ADHD or ODD or autism or whatever it may be, or children who have been expelled or suspended, whatever, they've had a lot of people come into their life. So to break that down, I would literally go in straight away and be like, I know it's really hard for you. I'd say you're sick of seeing professionals, are you? And their face, the minute you just acknowledge that, it's like, yeah, I am. And I'm like, okay, I'd say it is. It's so hard. Like, how many professionals have you seen? And like, for them, they're probably looking at, Jesus, I've seen a lot of professionals, but nobody has helped me. So it's like, has their trust gone in adults? So that's what we need to be mindful of. So like, so it depends on the child. I have to really attune to the child of what they need. And that attunement is huge, because when we talk around early childhood attachment, it's around having that level of attunement to your child. It's that regulation. That's how we regulate, is that attunement. Oh God, it's that gut feeling. Oh, my child needs this, or my child needs that. And I think as a first time mum, for me, and I'll probably every mum, you know, you're always guessing, oh, is it a nappy change? Is it this? Is it that? Like, so that attunement is there. So you really need to tune into the child's energy and reflect back. I'm wondering what that's about. Can we talk about that? And sometimes, you know, I mightn't even talk around, get into their experiences for a very long time, but I'd always start my first session as, you know, I know what's been going on in the house. Or if they're in foster placement, when they were in foster placement, you know, I know what has been happening, and I know things are really challenging at the moment. So you're just really naming it to taming it. That's that Dan Siegel. You just name it to tame it. Just name the elephant in the room, you know, to try and break down the barrier that, okay, they know. But also you need to be mindful then, because the child might reject as to, you know, what do they know? Are they a little bit suspicious of you? So at the start, yeah, they're going to test boundaries. So it's holding that space for them and showing up every day to be consistent, like, because that's what it's all about. Like,
yeah, build that trust.
Build the trust. Just be that consistent adult for them, and just build the trust. Because I remember a social worker actually got, I think it was, God, it was before I had Josh, because I was going on maternity leave, and she spoke to me around a child that she was working with, and I shared this story on my page before Christmas, because I was so blown away by it. And I worked with him for, I think it was a good couple of years, and I didn't do any therapy with him, done nothing. I provided respite, and I was out there every single week without fail, just taking him out for a couple of hours, like helping the carers out. And she came back and said, do you know such and such? And I was like, yeah, I do. Why? And she was like, oh, they're really struggling at the moment. And she was asking about, like, is there any social workers maybe in the past that you trusted? And he said, yeah, Shauna. And I was like, wow, isn't that...
And all you did was show up.
Just show up. Consistency. Hold that space from... Didn't even talk about hardly any of his life. Just literally... It's just around that relationship building is so important, and it's missed. And I think even as professionals, we miss that, because we get so focused in on what intervention do I need to have? Do I need to have a plan and all for this session? Like, but it's actually, you're the most important person. That's all they need. If you're just attuned to them, acknowledge their feelings, where they're at, hold the space for their feelings, to be like, it's okay to be sad, or it's okay, or we can just chat about whatever you want. It's having that really acceptance to where they're at, and go at the child's pace. Because why force it? Like, they're not ready.
Yeah. What does how does play support the release or overcoming trauma, so traumatic experiences?
Yeah, like, play is a child's language. You know, it's really getting down to their level. So often when a child has experienced trauma, they can't put it into words. So if a child experienced trauma even through their first 3 years, the early childhood, they don't have the language to actually talk about the event. So it's that pre-verbal stage. So what happens is that they have implicit memories. So they actually hold the trauma in their body at a pre-verbal stage. So if a child experienced trauma through their early years, they mightn't have they have the memory, but it's lodged in the body. So the feeling is still there, but they actually don't have the language to say A, B and C has happened. So play allows them to do that, allows them to access that unconscious as to what might be going on. So it might come out through their play. So for instance, they might play in the doll's house, you know, and there might be arguments going on, or they might use the sand to maybe play out different experiences, but they don't know necessarily. They just remember the feeling. This is just around like early childhood, and then obviously older kids as well would play out, would act out. But it's safety. It's safe because they're expressing it through play rather than verbalizing it themselves. So me as a therapist would, you know, you'd track their play, and you would identify maybe different feelings that might be coming up, and you'd have little check-ins. So it's around really paraphrasing what is coming up. So, oh, I can see like they look quite angry, or I'm wondering what's happening there. So it's allowing the child that space to actually speak about, or they might shut down, but that's okay. You know, you're letting them know that you're there, and whatever happens in the room is okay. You have them. Like, it's okay to literally express whatever you want to express in that room. It's your safe space, really, to process what has happened.
Yeah. How does that show up as adults then, if we keep carrying that all the way through into adulthood?
Yeah.
Would that be trust? Obviously, that would be a big one. Relationships.
Yeah. It can show up in many ways. Like, it can show up in, trust, relationships. Like, we know from the ACE studies as well, the adverse childhood experiences, that it can impact our physical health and mental health as well, and obviously your relationship. So if we're looking at our physical health, you know, I think there's like higher risk of cancer, diabetes, autoimmune disease. Like, I have an autoimmune disease now, and I believe that's possibly from early childhood trauma. I don't know. But it's mad how it manifested. You know, it's only after manifesting really since I had me baby. So I was like, that's mad. So it can show up in a number of ways, and obviously mental health, you know, like depression and anxiety, like whatever that might be, OCD. Like, so yeah, it does show up if you're not able to deal with it.
Do you want to talk about Reiki as well? Your practice,
or spirituality side of things.
Yeah.
As
well. How did you what triggered that interest in you?
Yeah, I absolutely love Reiki and healing. I just think it's just has worked for me, I suppose. But you know, I feel sometimes in this industry as well with spirituality and obviously trauma, there's a lot of people at the moment, you know, and amazing. So like, but I feel like to hold space for somebody is so sacred, Maria. Like, it really, really is. And I suppose only just using Reiki as a modality isn't going to heal trauma. You know, it's just a part of your toolbox. You need more than that. You need therapy. You know I've been in therapy for years on and off because I think it's really important for even personal development. You know, like I don't go counselling anymore, but that's not to say in the future that I will go, because I just think having that safe space is so important. But for me, the Reiki side of things really helped me ground my energy. And it helped me give a little bit of hope. Like, you know, and I think sometimes when you've experienced trauma, you want to feel the light, you know, and sometimes there's clouds of darkness at times. So it's like when I kind of tapped into the Reiki, it allowed me to see myself in a different light, you know, and kind of clear all the blockages and that kind of negative energy that I was carrying. And it sounds very airy-fairy, but it's not. It's deep healing as well. You know, I think I only shared a poem the other day on my page around healing, and it's not linear. Like, it's tough and it's painful, and people may think that it's airy-fairy. You know, all this spirituality and cacao ceremonies and this and that. And it's not airy-fairy. It's deep work. Like, it's deep and it's hurtful and it's painful and it's hard.
And it takes a lot of courage.
It takes a lot of courage. Like, and I admire anybody who, like, is starting to work on themselves, because it's so important. And I suppose that's why I set up the Rediscovering Magic of Motherhood workshop as well, for mothers to practice self-care, you know, and actually take that little bit of time out for themselves. And I feel I've only done 2 workshops, and I've got lovely feedback from mums in that sense of it's quite different. Like, I try and incorporate kind of all my tools of creativity and Reiki and meditation as well, and just kind of bring them all together to really support mums, because I just felt after having Josh, I had postnatal depression, and there wasn't that much out there for mums.
What did you think? Did you know you had postnatal depression, or someone told you?
Denial for like ages, absolute denial. I just, again, expectations. It's like I place so much expectations on myself. It's like, you're a therapist, like, you work with kids, you can't have that. It was like so much shame and stigma attached to it. But for me, it got to a stage where I was suicidal. I was highly depressed, anxious, began to self-harm. Like, I really got to a stage, and I suppose I remember talking to my psychiatrist about it. Yeah, it was really, really deep. Like, it was horrible. And I felt that, I just didn't feel good enough as a mom. I was like, yeah, he'd be better off without me. And yeah, it was tough. Like, it was, sorry. I get quite emotional when I talk about it, because I've only begun to actually speak about it. Because
does that help you? Talking about it?
Do you know what? It actually has, because I done a podcast with the Healing Gals with Molly. She's amazing, like, and that was the first time I actually shared my story around postnatal depression. I was like, wow, this is so powerful. And I know that I've helped a lot of mammies, because I've got messages in and I'm like, oh my God. Like, and that's why I set up the Rediscover the Magic of Motherhood, because I felt so lost, Maria. Like, I was like, what is this? Like, no one told me that I'd be lost in motherhood. And I think even regardless, what I'm learning now, and I wish I had a knew, if I had spoke more about it, maybe to the right people would have maybe validated that. No, I feel lost as well. I just felt so alone. But actually, the more that I'm talking to mums, and the beautiful space that I've held for gorgeous mammies, they were so vulnerable in that space, and they all shared, but some of them didn't have postnatal depression, you know, but they all shared very similar feelings that I would have had, all that not feeling good enough, feeling guilt, feeling shame. And I was like, Jesus Christ, like, how have we gotten to this in 2024 that there's still shame and stigma attached to motherhood?
Do you think that's always been there, or is it happening now because we're more aware of what other people are thinking, and because we've more systems of communication and seeing and looking at other people's lives and comparing each other?
I think it's comparison. I think it's social media.
And then, because they wouldn't set those expectations years ago.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's social media. I love social media as well, because the page and really connection, and I love it. And I suppose for me on social media, it's all positive. I follow all people positive. Like, I've really worked hard energetically to just have a page where it lifts me up, and I love Instagram. But when we're looking at parents who are scrolling, maybe new mums, they're looking at other new mums on Instagram and comparing. Like, I compared, my friends had all babies the same, and this wasn't even true, like, obviously Instagram, and I felt, oh God, like, I'm nowhere near where they're at. So we do slip into comparing. But Instagram, everybody puts their best foot forward, and it's like, you're not actually seeing the sleep deprivation, you're not seeing the dysregulation, you're not seeing the emotional distress.
And if you do, then they're like, oh, they're just looking for attention, isn't it?
Oh my God. And it's like, what the hell? Like, it's mad. Like, I think it's just, it's toxic. Social media toxic, can be toxic when people actually begin to share their journey, you know, and it's just, it's not okay. You know, I think it's human connection. It's just human connection. Will you just be nice?
I think parent and toddler groups and groups like that is what's really saved people, isn't it?
Amazing. Yeah, I love that, because I went to baby massage with Josh when he's a couple of weeks old, and it was so nice because everybody was going through the same experience, and it's like, it's so needed. But I know that there's a lot of mums out there, from even working within the community, they're isolating. They don't know how to actually... Are
they afraid of judgment and feeling like, you know, prove that I failed, because when I tell everybody, they're all going to see how I'm a terrible mom.
Yeah. Well, when you bring it back to...
Without knowing, there's no such thing as terrible mom.
100%.
Like,
there's no perfect parent.
Just made a human being. Like, how in earth?
Like, it's just mad. I remember I met one of my old friends. I went to school with her in the play centre, and she was like, God, looks like you're doing really well and all. I was like, here, I'm not perfect. Are you mad? I was like, I hope I don't come across like that on my page, because I do struggle. I was like, I struggle like all the time. If parenting is one of the hardest jobs in the world, and throw intergenerational trauma into the mix, you know, it's another added layer to the onion. Like, and as you were saying, even around parents feeling that judgment, when we're unpacking that with parents, and that it goes back to your core beliefs. I believe the early childhood attachment in relation to how your internal working model, it's what Bowlby is talking about. Them core beliefs around, I am lovable, I am worthy, and I am worthy of care. I deserve happiness. When we don't actually have that core belief, motherhood is going to trigger all of that. Like, I thought I'd done the work. I really did. And I would have worked a lot around my core beliefs. I would have. When I had my baby, he triggered another layer of healing. another layer.
And your hormones and everything is not
100%.
helping because it's all over the place.
Yeah. It's mad. But it's not spoken about, I think, because it's not unpacked with parents, because I feel we don't have the maybe awareness or self-awareness that this is why it's happening. Like, I know for me, I have like an analytic brain. I have to question everything. I have to. But maybe some mammies aren't like that, and they're just stuck in that chaos of feeling, oh, this is just the way it is.
Yes.
This is just the way it's meant to be. It's parenting doesn't have to be chaotic. It doesn't. And I've really genuinely found joy in my parenting. I find joy in the present moments. Like this morning, like Josh's like, can we go on the telly? I was like, no, we're not watching the telly because I hate the telly in the morning.
Yeah.
And there's times where I put it on like when I need to get ready for work. So I was like, right now we're going to build a fort, and he has this little Spider-Man laser, and I literally sat there for 20 minutes fully engrossed, and it was a lovely moment. And I know that I'm privileged enough to have that, because I know that's not many people's experience who have more than one child, you know. So, but look, I'm just enjoying it now while I can, and building them memories. Because we
need to pause.
We need to pause.
We're just on the go. This is okay. This is the way it's meant to be, as you said. It is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. No,
it's
but
not.
You can
it's not
change
the way
it.
It's meant to be. Parenting can actually be so peaceful, and it can be happy, you know. And that's what I want to do. I want to recreate joy in parenting. I want to recreate happiness in yourself. But in order to do that, you need to find happiness for you. Yeah. What do you like to do? Like, what do you actually like to do? How can you reconnect with the parts of yourself that you might have lost?
And your inner
motherhood?
child.
Yeah, inner child work.
Your inner child.
Jesus, this is another podcast. We could go on about inner child. I love inner child work.
It's so powerful. And with my parenting connection, I've learned so many things and realised in the last week especially that I was crying yesterday all day because I'm realising, like, I'm pausing. I'm starting to pause for the first time in my life. Wow. To see things from the outside. It's like I take myself out of my body and I look from up there and I'm like, wow, look at that. Yeah. And like seeing my inner child, my daughter, and connecting with that and being like, wow, that was me 30 years ago or whatever. A long time ago. Like that, wow. And then being able to help her. And while I help her, I help myself. Exactly. And it's amazing. Yeah. And it's just that pause. It's like it doesn't have to be like that.
It's like helping yourself first.
Yeah.
Because it's showing that kind of, your role model in that regulation, isn't it? And it's like, just breathe.
Yeah. Like, I made the conscious decision because every summer, summer camps, summer camp went walked. And again, not everyone has the same circumstances, but I made these happen consciously. Yeah. Because I don't have to do this. I made this happen, and I've been working on this, visualizing this. This summer, I'm going to enjoy time with my children. And today we went to buy a little puzzle, and we made a puzzle, and then we designed our own puzzle, and it's just so simple. It really, and then it's the bacon in the air fryer. Okay, you put the bacon here, and you switch it on here, and it's all about that connection in everything we do. And I made that conscious decision. Said that,
just even like you put the bacon here. So like when I'm even with Josh, like in the mornings, say if we're like making scrambled eggs, I'm like, okay, you store that. Yeah. I get him involved in the activities that I need to do as a mum. So say, for instance, the washing. Like he empties the dishwasher with me. He's 2.5. Like, and people to be laughing at me like, Jace, I'm like, no, because it's connection. And he loves it. And it gives me the time to positive praise, but it's also teaching him life skills. Yeah. And
the sense of belonging as well.
And he loves it. He loves helping out. And it's not like you need to empty the dishwasher. It's done. Do you want to give me a little hand? Oh my God, you're so good at that. Thank you so much. You're very, very strong. You can carry that plate. Well done. Pop it in here nicely. And you're giving him that direction. And it's building his self-esteem. It's building, oh my God, again, that internal working model. I can do this. I can trust you. I know that you have me. And I know if I let that play fall, that you're not going to lose the rag, or you're not going to hit me. It's that safety. Yeah. Like, he knows I'm not going to lose the rag. We'll clean it up. It's okay. Yeah. Shit happens.
Yeah. And it's letting go of that perfectionism as well, big time, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
And again, it's the ego. It has to be perfect. It has to be my way, because I'm the adult, because I know best, and you have to do it my way. And my way is the only good way. But if we pause, listen, and let go, actually, you're trying. That's amazing. You're doing the laundry, you're hanging the socks. that shake the socks first. It's okay. They're trying their best.
Know.
It's okay.
And that even, it's just expectations of children, isn't it? But I feel that we place too many expectations on children because we're drowning in expectations ourselves. So it's like, how can you reduce the load as a parent and just breathe, let it go? Just all they need is connection and safety, and just it. And you're even talking about the arts and crafts activities. I rarely do that with Josh. I'm terrible. So even just bringing it back even to basics with parents, because I know when I work with parents, see that play, it can be a huge trigger because some parents don't know how to play and they're like, oh, I feel really uncomfortable. I don't know what to do. How do I lead it? And I'm like, just be you. You don't even need to let the child lead the play. Yeah. That's my motto, child-led play. And if they want to invite you in, they will. So, for instance, if your child is playing with Barbies, as they do, and you might say something, blah, 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 and then the child's like, no, you're not allowed to say that. So just pause. Don't say it and be like, what would you like me to say? So you're asking questions. Ask questions. What does she do next? Where do I put her? Will I put her there? So it's giving the child total full control of the play. So it's genuinely enjoyable for them. And then it's enjoyable for you because you're placing that expectations of yourself to be perfect in a play. You don't need to be perfect. It's grand. Just keep checking in with them because they lead the way. They are the masters of play. They're deadly. Step into their world of imagination and it's it's so crazy. Cool. But even the connection piece of reading a bedtime story or having a cuddle on the couch and watching a bit of TV time, that's still connection. But if you're watching TV time together, have conversations. What do you think they're doing? Oh my God, look at him. Oh God, he's running really fast. So you're still increasing
and put the phone down.
Language. Put the phone. Yeah, put the phone down. Put the phone down.
My kids are so good at that. Mommy, we said no phone now. So I'm like, oh, I have an email. Hard. Or I've someone working and they're waiting for me for the answer to keep doing what they're doing. And I'm like, I need to send a message. But it's like, Mommy, you said no phones now. Okay, sorry, no.
It's so
put the phone away.
And I think for you in particular, obviously, and self-employed mammies, how can you boundary that time? It's hard because it's your self-employed, you're working for yourself.
Oh, I'm not sitting there scrolling on Instagram, or I'm not I know I have to, I need to post this because we got new stock and I need to post, because if I don't post it now, I'm not going to sell. And it's the whole thing.
I know.
I'm learning to not feel guilty about it. What I do is now I share what I'm doing with them.
Deadly.
I just need to do this because I got this mats. You want to have a look at the new stock we got? I'll show you. See what you think. And actually today it was so fun.
Get them involved in the video.
Yeah, I know they'd love that. I can have my YouTube channel.
They'd be like when they're older, Ma, Jesus, what are you doing?
We went to buy something for the materials for the summer camps that are starting on Monday, and I actually asked her because I had to buy sponges for it because we're doing soapy water, water and soap, and then farm animals, and they have to wash them. So I wanted to buy so easy.
Yeah.
So I needed sponges to wash the farm animals, and I had either the one with the stick that you can hold the stick, like the one you use for your dishes, or the one you use the little brush you use to clean your nails. That little brush. Yeah. So I asked her which one is going to be best for messy play, and she said she's 9, and she's been coming to the workshop since she's 1, and she said, Mommy, if you take the one with the stick, they're not going to get their hands messy. But if you get the small one, that will encourage them to get their hands dirty because the water is going to go on their hands, even though they're holding the brush.
Wow. Oh my God.
I was like, oh my God.
You,
So that's how much they're learning. And I feel so guilty because I'm working all the time. But when things like that happen.
How much you learn from them.
Yeah. And them from you, watching you when you're like, I should be playing with them and I'm working. I should be playing with them and I'm doing this. But they're watching.
Yes.
And they're still learning.
They watch with their eyes and their ears. They are literally like sponges. They watch everything you do. And I know even Gabriel Mate, he talks around. It's just so simple. If you treat children right, they're going to turn out okay. If you don't, they're not going to turn out okay. And it's just genuinely as simple as that. It's simple as that as a society, as professionals, if we're able to just really look beyond the challenging behaviour of children. Yeah. It really.
What are they telling us?
Look beneath it. What is actually going on? Because there's so many layers to it. There really, really is. But that's insane, how much she's after saying. I love when actually it's not insane because, they are our teachers. They're absolutely, Josh has taught me like the most. He's actually taught me about regulation, like of how much I can become dysregulated and not have patience. And I thought I did have patience, but also how to have patience now, and regulate and practice self-care.
Because you have a reason and a purpose to be a better person.
Oh, I just want to be a better mom. Like, I just want to try my best.
It's like
each
constant
day.
challenge every day. Yeah. Okay, small challenges every day, but something, and being willing to learn and improve. We're not perfect. We're as perfect. Well, we are perfect. I like to say we are perfect because this is as perfect as it gets.
Yeah, this is it.
So we are in a way, you know.
That's ego.
Sorry, not sorry.
But yeah, they're not striving for us to be perfect parents. No. And I think as well, I like not being perfect. So there's some days I will shout at Josh. You know, there's some days I lose the rag, but it's relationship repair.
That's life.
100%. Yeah. Life, it's stressful, you know, but it's coming back and actually owning it, saying, please don't say I got angry because you did this and this.
Yeah,
so
that's
I blaming and shaming. So I go in and I say, Mammy shouldn't be shouting. I'm sorry for shouting. I should have took me deep breaths, and I'm going to do that next time. Like, and that's it.
And then they'll remind you. I mean, you said you were going to take deep breaths. Where are the deep breaths?
The candles and all. He's so cute. And then it's so funny because like I'm all about like regulation and breath work, and like sometimes when he's in that tantrum, he's just like, no, go away. And I'm like, come on, we just do our deep breaths. Like, but in that moment, he doesn't want. So what I've learned as well, each moment is different. So like you can have a tool of like different things to help your child, which I think every parent will know one size doesn't fit all. So like when he's in that kind of state of dysregulation, I would call it, because he just doesn't want anything, I just pause. I don't talk. I'm like, it's okay, I'm here. And I just give eye contact and like a nurturing smile. And sometimes I just place my hand on my heart and I close my eyes and I breath. I do my breathing. So that, and then sometimes he kind of comes over because he's like, oh, the energy has shifted here. What's going on?
Feel that.
He feels the safety and he comes without me even having to say, do you want to cuddle? Do you want this or that? Do you want a hug?
It's that space is open for you to
come. The energetic space is open. Yeah. So I'd say, he's like, what is Mom doing in the middle of the room? I'd be on me hunkers like, and I'm just like, my hands on my chest. I'm like, sometimes I'd be playing like classical music like Mozart because I that's meant to be really good for calm. And so he's like, and then he just comes and like the tantrum is over, you know, and I'm like, oh, that was a really big emotion. Why were you sad? And sometimes he can't obviously say, he's like 2.5, but if I'm given the narrative, I'm wondering, is it because you didn't really want to get out of bed? Oh, and you didn't want to go to creche this morning? Did you want to stay at home at Mum? And he's like, yeah. Because that's what's happening. You know, that's what's happening sometimes in the morning. And it's like, I know, that's really hard. Mammy has to go to work, but we can have playtime when you come home. Yeah. So when your child is in a tantrum, say like a 6-year-old or 8-year-old, and as I spoke about, think about the emotional age. Are they showing up as a 2-year-old or 3-year-old? What do they need in that? They don't need consequences. They don't need punishments. They just need somebody to acknowledge and identify their feelings and give them a narrative to help them process what's actually wrong. Because they don't know what's wrong. They're probably so overwhelmed with school, with friendships, with the demands placed on them, expectations. They might have made their bed, but you might have been like, that's not done right because, you know, you have an expectation in your head. Just leave it.
It's like tidying up the house. I realised, you know, I thought it's always so messy and it's always a big mess and everything is everywhere, but they don't care. No, these are my expectations. I want to have, so why would they not have the house met? They don't care. It's me. Exactly. So why would I blame them
100%
to have the house in the way that I need it? They don't. So it's about sharing those. I think it's really nice, and I think we can agree, you know, that's a conversation I would have with them. We can all agree that it's really nice when everything is out, like there's no lot of things on the floor, and you're really like, remember when you went to your friend's house and you came back and you said, Mommy, their house is so tidy, it's really nice. So it'd be nice to have our house a little bit like that. So will we all, you know, try to have it all and put it all, and actually they come up with amazing ideas when you're doing that. We were tidying up the laundry the other day and they put their roller blades on in the house. Yeah. So I was taking one t-shirt out of the laundry rack thing at a time, and they're like, we're going to pretend that we're serving a restaurant. So each t-shirt was one plate, and I was like, table 7. So they'd pick up the t-shirt, go rolling to their bedroom, and then throw it in the box, come back, table 15, and going. And we did the whole laundry as a game, and I'm 100% sure they'll never forget that.
That is a brilliant tip,
isn't it? And they came up with it.
Oh my God.
It was like, how can we do this? It was like, it looks like a table. Okay, let's bring food to the tables. And it's something so silly.
And fun. And it's like you're getting the housework done. How can we actually incorporate
movement? It was amazing in
into,
so many levels.
It's really incorporating play into the chores.
Yeah.
Like, and just making it fun. Put on a bit of music, have a bit of dance party. Like, it's, it's getting them off technology as well. And actually allowing their imagination, allowing the child to be bored as well. It's like, it's okay for them to be bored. It's grand. We don't have to constantly... when they're saying, I'm bored, what's that triggering you? It's not about them, it's about you. Exactly. What does that trigger? When you go, well, this is the switch box, the whatever. Because you want Nintendo to prevent a tantrum. You don't want to deal with the outbursts of the behaviour, because it's like, you don't have time for it.
I can't cope.
You can't cope. You're just like, I've had enough today. You're probably after working or having them all day. It's probably the weekend, and you're probably after giving them a load of attention, but actually how much like quality time have you actually get? It's around putting the phones down, as you say, like, and actually having that presence and quality connection with your child.
And then once that's done, if you really need to do something, then set another time. Okay, I need to go now, I need to work. You can do whatever you want, but then set a timer, or Alexa or whatever. 8 o'clock we'll have our bedtime story. I'll be with you again fully.
Exactly, that's it.
So they can see the next time, because they can't understand time.
Oh, I know. I know. There's so much expectations. Yeah. There really is. But I do believe it's from us. We're just drowning. We're drowning in responsibilities. Like, it's just an awful lot for mammies. Yeah, it really is. So I see it. I feel you, and I hear you.
We see you.
We see you. Yeah, like, we really do. It's hard. It is tough. And there's no parenting manual. Unfortunately, every child is different, and every family is so different.
And as they grow, they change. So when you think you mastered something, then like,
don't tell me
now she's a teenager.
Like, please help. I'm like, oh my God, wait until just.
So my biggest piece of advice is just laugh.
Yeah.
Just laugh, because all I can do is laugh. Because
if you don't laugh, you'll cry. Yeah. No, really, just...
Or cry with us. We can all just cry together.
Bringing laughter in is huge. Yeah. That's it. Connection.
Pause.
Again. Pause, laughter, and just let go of expectations. Like, just... it's just...
Just before we go, what's the one thing anyone listening could do right now to make small changes, to make their parenting journey a little bit easier and more enjoyable?
Work on yourself. It really, really is. It's like, it is working on yourself, because I feel when you do work on yourself, you're in that much better place to be present with your child. Like, you are, because you're not dealing with constant triggers. You're not dealing with that kind of sense of dysregulation and overwhelm. Now, come here, like of course you're going to go through the ebbs and flows of it throughout the day, but if you are filling your own cup, you're able then to give a little bit back then to your children. And that's the most powerful thing I think about being a parent, is working on yourself, because it's going to create joy. It's going to automatically create joy. When you feel happy, you're going to ooze happiness. If you feel overwhelmed, you're going to ooze overwhelm to your family and that kind of energy. If you feel angry, that's what your kids are going to get. Do you know? So it's like, you need to fill your cup with love, with positivity, with joy, and really remember who you are and rediscover yourself, so that you can give back to your children.
Wow. Thank you so much, Shauna. That was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Don't forget to like, share and follow, so you'll never miss out on upcoming episodes. See you next time.